Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. This is a webinar for Autodesk Construction Cloud. The topic for today is a little bit more specific. We're going to be reviewing the mobile app for the tool build. So as you know, Autodesk Construction Cloud is a complex tool that has multiple applications. Now, these multiple applications are for different reasons, and they obey to different, let's say, different purposes, depending on who is working with them. So we have different modules. The one that everyone knows is the module of build. The docs, which is the first module. We're going to focus on the module of build. Now, build is a module, and we are going to use build in the mobile app. That means that when we open the program, when we open the Autodesk Construction Cloud tool, what we're going to do is we're going to use it in the mobile app. I'll explain that in a moment. First, I'm going to explain a couple of things that are for reference. So I'm going to start with introducing myself. So my name is Charles Sanchez. I'm a senior consultant at Arkansas, senior consultant for Autodesk Construction Cloud. My background is in architecture. I'm actually a licensed architect with experience in the industry, design, and I do have a lot of experience also working for Autodesk. Autodesk is the company that created this tool, Autodesk Construction Cloud. So I do have experience working with Revit, Autodesk Construction Cloud, Beam 360, Autodesk, of course, AutoCAD, of course. And I have been, as I said, working in the industry, but I also work in research, and I also work as an implementation consultant for Autodesk. Now, what is the Autodesk Construction Cloud? I need to explain this first. If you're new to Autodesk Construction Cloud, it's a platform where you can combine multiple processes for collaboration, design, planning, building, operation, etc. It's all done in a virtual environment. It's all done through a common data environment, what we call the CDE. Now, the common data environment means that all the data is going to be living in one place. All the data is going to be allocated in one place, and it's going to be controlled. The access to the data is going to be controlled. So all the processes that you see here in the screen, from designing, right from the basic design of a building, of the planning and documentation, to the actual building of the project, and the complexity that it goes into building something, infrastructure or building, eventually to the operation, all that can be done virtually using Autodesk Construction Cloud. So because of this reason, it is so important that we understand how the tool works, the principles, before we jump into what we're going to talk about today, which is the mobile application. Now, as I mentioned a moment ago, Autodesk Construction Cloud relies on the module Docs, which is a module for documentation. So Docs is going to be a tool where we keep all our data. If you notice in the background of this image, there are two images. One says create transmittal, which is a way for us to communicate data to other people. We send files, we send notes to other people within the platform with a very controlled environment. And in the background, you see how it says Docs. Docs is one of the modules of Autodesk Construction Cloud. And it says files. Files is where all the information is. So every piece of data that we have is going to be in files. And what you're looking at here is the desktop version. Later, we're going to look at the mobile version later on when I use my iPad to share. Now, what happens here is we need to understand how the principles of Autodesk Construction Cloud work. There is a certain level of configuration. I actually explained this before in another webinar. What does it mean to do the configuration part? Well, it means that prior to using the tool, prior to us engaging in the tool or bringing other people to the tool, to the platform, we need to work a little bit on the configuration. That means we need to set up users, we need to set up systems, we need to set up folders, we need to set up a naming standards, and all that takes time. Now, that time that is invested here in this configuration, right, is going to pay back with the execution. That means that if you spend an hour configuring something, that hour might save you 10, 20 hours of time when you are executing it. So keep that in mind, because later on, when we work in the mobile app, we are expecting the configuration to be finished. That means the mobile app is not for configuration, it's only for execution. The mobile app is going to be for people to be on the site, to be working directly on the field, to be collecting data from the field. They are not going to be expected to be working on any type of configuration for the project. Now, going back to the configuration and execution, as I said a moment ago, when you go to docs and you work in files, you're going to have this structure where what the structure of the project is going to do is going to allow people to have a place to save those files, right? Now, what you're looking at here is a very basic configuration. It just says 001 architecture, 002 MEP. It only has 2 disciplines. And then within the disciplines has multiple folders, right? Color, QR codes, links, shape, etc. And then it has a share. This is not following any type of international standard for information management. In principle, we want to follow an information management standard like IS 19650 to configure the project. But when we work in the mobile app, we're going to rely on this configuration to access our data. So what is the ideal configuration for a project? Will be the ISO 19650 standard, which is dividing the project into work in progress, WIP, shared data, published data, and archive data. So what happens here is the process is what dictates the configuration of the project, not the type of content. We don't divide content based on what is inside each folder. We don't say this folder is for oranges, this folder is for apples. No, we say this folder is according to a process. Our process now is WAP. Our process now is shared data. Our process now is published data. And that's how we divide the folders. It's very recommended to do that. Now, how does the mobile UI works? Well, again, as I said a moment ago, what dictates the principle behind Autodesk Construction Cloud is that the data is circulating, right? The data goes through different processes. It goes from a early stage to a documented stage to a shared stage, etc. But people can access to it. And people have different levels of visibility. Sometimes they should see the top of the iceberg, right? Sometimes they only see what we want them to see. Documents are updated. Ironically, there is an email here, but what that means is communication. There are no emails being sent. All the communication happens in the platform. Of course, time is a priority. There is always time savings by engaging this platform. What we're focusing today on, which is the mobile app, is going to be one of the many ways where people access data. Now, what are some of the challenges that people face is we already know, right? I mean, prior to engaging this platform, people don't have visibility, people can't communicate properly. There are people who are still working on very manual workflows. We want to avoid that. And that's the reason why we're engaging in this platform. We want to increase the collaboration. We want to rely on one single source of information. We want to have a high level of connectivity between the 2D and the 3D. Everything wants to be, we want everything to be digitalized. We want to have standards for absolutely everything, right? Because that way there is not multiple angles for one thing. There's only one angle, one standard, one approach. And we want to increase the accuracy of our data. Now, going back to the CD, the common data environment, as I mentioned a moment ago, we have docs, we have build. We are going to focus on build, the other module here. But if you notice in build, there is also a folder for docs, right? There's a folder with the files here. Now what happens here is, sorry, there is a folder for the files, I'm sorry. And these are the other modules that we are not looking at today. We have docs, we have design collaboration, we have model coordination, we have takeoff, with cost management. These are the different modules within ACC. We already mentioned quickly docs, which is the backbone of the project where everything's set up. But those files that are in docs can be accessed also through build. And that's the reason why build is more than enough for us to work on a project. Now, what are the basic tools that we work with when we're doing projects using build? If you notice here, this is an image with all the tools from build. And one of the most common tools is forms. We're not going to talk in detail about forms. Forms is an amazing tool for digitalized collaboration. It has amazing benefits. I've seen people using forms in many multiple ways. But we are not going to focus on forms. We're going to focus on how all these tools that are here, how all these tools that you see here are going to be presented in the mobile app. I'm not expecting everyone to know all these tools. If you're familiar with them, great. If you are not, you might learn a little bit how they actually work. So all these tools you see here are going to be available in, in the mobile app. The most practical things that you're going to see using the mobile app is you're going to collect information from the site. It's going to be easier to type data. It's going to be easier to take pictures, right? That data is going to be available to everyone the moment you connect to a Wi-Fi connection, or if you have mobile in your phone or your iPad, in your tablet, that's going to be connected immediately. People are going to have access to it immediately. And that information is going to be stored and saved, even if you don't go back online. The moment you connect, it's going to be available. Now, this is how the user interface is going to look like. And I'm going to switch to my iPad in a moment, but I wanted to show you this because this is my actual hub. These are my projects. So when you are working on the mobile app, in those projects, this data is going to be actually in the cloud. It's not going to be saved in your computer unless you decide to through a tool called Desktop Connector. Again, we're not going to go into Desktop Connector right now, but Desktop Connector is what is allowing you to have local copies of your files in the computer where you're working, right? So if you're working on a laptop, a Desktop Connector is going to allow you to bring that data, right? And keep that data in your computer, right? Now, your computer probably has a lot of room for data. It has, I don't know, 500 gigabytes, 1 terabyte of data capacity. The mobile application, the mobile tool is not that much. The mobile tool is far more limited, especially if you're working with iOS, with the iPad system, with the Apple iPad or an iPhone, is far more limited. So for that reason, your projects are not going to be all there in your device. You will have to choose what projects you want to have saved locally. And that's important because it's going to take space from your device. It's going to take storage from your device. So please be careful with that. Now, when you open the mobile user interface, if unfortunately I cannot see all of you, I cannot talk to you directly, but if you have your phone next to you, if you want to go to the Apple store or the Android store and download it, you're going to have this where it says either you can sign up for a 30-day trial or you can log in. The data center is where the servers are. For those in Australia, recently we have access to a local data center, so you can choose the Australian data center to open your files, save your files in a local server. So once you see this, you're gonna have to either sign up or log in. Once you sign up or log in, you're gonna see how the mobile app is telling you about the storage settings, which is what I just mentioned a moment ago. What that means is that if you don't have a external storage, this is taken I think this is taken from an iPad. My iPad doesn't have one, and iPad doesn't have external storage. So it's gonna tell you how much you have available inside the iPad or your Android tablet. You can decide if you have an external SD card, go for it. Keep it in the external SD card so you can save more. If you don't, then you have no choice but to keep everything in the internal storage. And that's how you are going to access your files directly. So this is the decision making of how much information I'm going to keep in storage. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to share from my iPad. So at this moment, I'm going to switch, and what you're going to look at is my iPad. So what we saw a moment ago was a PowerPoint presentation, and I'm not right now, I'm broadcasting. Let me see, just 1 second for everyone. This is the thing um, when you're working with this content, because we have to do mobile. Hopefully I'll be able to do it. I tested already and it worked well. So let's see. So we are about to broadcast from my iPad. There you go. This is my iPad. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go directly to the app. So there is, that's what it looks like that, because it's actually broadcasting from my iPad. So the first thing we're going to do here is, there you go. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you the top left corner of my iPad where it says projects. So if you look at it, my account is there on the top right. That's me. That's my account. So I can go again to preferences and I can choose where I want to keep my data, or I can remove all the data if I want to. It's telling me how much space it's taking, how much I have available. Again, this is an iPad, it doesn't have an SD card. And it has a couple of things related to the settings that might not be relevant right now, just in case you want to confirm your account. Now, if you notice here on projects, I have all these projects here, right? When I go to, sorry, these are some of the tools that it's going to tell you that are available. You can go and check them out if you want to. Again, we're not going to focus on it, but if I go to projects at the bottom, you see, I have the first line says on this device, right? So in this device means that I already took that file and I downloaded to my iPad. And that's what it's telling me right now, that I should sync the project, because there is data, there are updates in the project that have not been saved, in this device. So now it's telling me that it's fine, it's right there. If you go to the menu here, the three dots on the top, it says edit download options, force refresh or remove from this device. You might have to constantly, again, depending on your preferences or on how much data you have in storage, how much capacity your device has, you can remove files and bring them back again. So I'm not going to go into my project. I'll go there later. I want to show you now that I have multiple projects. All these projects that I have here that you see listed there, there are projects in my account, and they are just far too much for me to keep them all in my iPad. I don't want to do that. And the reason why I don't want to do that is because it's just too much space that it will take. It will take a lot of room for my iPad if I take all these projects and download them. So I'm not going to do that. I already selected one and I'm going to open it. So I click on it with my Apple Pencil. I'm using actually a stylus right now. And if you notice, this is my project. So this is a masterclass project that I used before. And if you compare it to how things look like in the desktop version, it is very, very, very different. Actually, that little icon you see here, I'm trying to minimize it, but it's not working. This icon here is just from the Zoom. it's not really there. I'm gonna put it in a place where it doesn't really bother anyone. So I'm gonna go to, sorry, I'm gonna go to there. So this icon here, I'm gonna put it in a place where it doesn't bother. So if you notice here, this is my user interface. These are my tools. So I'm gonna go one by one and explain what they do. Now, if you're familiar with Build, you will know these tools already, at least in principle, right? So what are the tools? If you notice, the first thing is the work status. So the work status is my dashboard. It's going to tell me what's going on. So I can go and review my issues one by one. You can go and I can take that issue, I can export it, I can unpublish it, I can go and review what's going on, the setting, change the due date, right? I can add information to that issue, which is very important because we're gonna see how later you can take data from the site using your mobile device. Again, it could be a cell phone, it could be an iPad. I'll do that in a second. So I'm gonna go back to home. And now I have recently viewed files. This is the same as what you get in the desktop app. I can go to my files and I can go and see what has been seen. And this is the part where I want to focus right now. I want to focus on viewing files. So I'm going to go to this folder, WIP, architecture. And there is if you notice there is a file, right? And I can see the extension of that file. It's an RVT file, that means a Revit file. Now, what it's doing right now, the iPad, what it's doing right now is downloading that file so I can see it locally. The reason is because when the project is downloaded, the project is downloaded as a structure, but the files in the project are not all saved locally. That's what you see, that every time you download a new file, it's going to take a little bit of time. Hopefully this one won't take too much time, but this is something that I wanted to present because of the risk of not being able to have all the files visible when you're on site. You have to be careful with that. We want to download the files. As you notice here, it's taking some time, right? We want to download the files prior if we want to review them. Most people that I know that work with the mobile app actually don't rely on the mobile app to go around files and reviewing them, except for 2D drawings. So I'm going to switch to 2D drawings because it's taking more time. See, we have any 2D drawings here. So I'm going to show you later in a moment what a lot of people are actually doing with this app in the field. Let's go back to this drawing to see if it's still downloading. Yeah, it's not downloading. It doesn't matter. So what we're going to do right now is going to go to the project files again. One thing, if you see I have a notification, one file remaining to download. I'm going to leave it downloading in the background. You see, I can navigate my folder, which is the thing that I want to see, the most important part. If you notice at the bottom, there you go. I can download, I can go to the file that has been downloaded and I can open it now. So this is the 3D viewer that we get with all the ACC pretty much since BIM 360 that we've been getting. And this 3D viewer, what it's going to allow you is to navigate 3D models in an iPad. So you can change the views, you can change, again, you can change the way they look like. If you want to, you can create sections. All the tools are going to be at the bottom. There is a small menu at the bottom, right? And I can also navigate the 2D views. So I'm going to browse the 2D views there. There you go. So I'm going to review the 2D views of this model. And again, I'm doing this. It's a little bit slower because I'm actually using Zoom while broadcasting from an iPad. So usually it will be much faster if you are not in a conference or a video call broadcasting from your iPad. So what I'm doing here right now is I'm opening that 2D drawing there, right? It's gonna take a little bit, again, because I'm broadcasting, I'm using Zoom at the same time. And this is going to allow you just to pretty much review 2D drawings. In my iPad, I can see it already. Here's taking more time. There you go. So for those who were present in the previous section where I described how to navigate these drawings and do markups, you're gonna see here, I can actually review these drawings. I can take measurements. There are certain tools here that I can use to navigate these drawings. I'm gonna close it right now. So this is one of the advantages of using the mobile app, that you are going to be able to, okay, I will have to jump in the meeting again. Apologies, because again, these are the things that happen when you're using the mobile app. So as you saw a moment ago, I'm gonna go back to presenting from the desktop app so you can see the differences between the mobile app and the desktop app. So what you saw a moment ago is pretty much very basic navigation of the tool in an iPad. Now, I'm going to show you what that looks like in the desktop app for those who are maybe not so familiar with um, with the application. All right. So this is what it looks like. This is built, and you saw a moment ago. So these are files, and what we saw a moment ago is pretty much the same, but in a very simplified way. So I was able to navigate the files. I was able to see the drawings, right? I was able to, I cannot go and just navigate design collaboration model coordination because that's not the tool. But what I can do is just, I can go through the project similar to what I will be doing in the desktop app. So these are the main differences. When I go to a file, I can still review the file. The chances are that the desktop version is a little bit faster. Those are the chances. But again, if you have a pretty good iPad, I've seen most people working with iPad Pros, you're going to be able to navigate pretty fast. And again, if you have good connectivity, again, it might be an advantage too. So what do we do? Usually we go to the App Store for those working with Apple, or the Android store for those working with Android, and download the app. You're gonna see here there are some reviews for it. I personally feel that the Android experience is not the best. I think that the Apple experience is much, much better. If you notice, actually, from the reviews from the stores, the Android version has 3.9 stars, while the Apple version has 4.7 stars. Again, I know sometimes this is not a decision that you made. It could be that the company gives you the device, or it could be that you already have one. In my case, I already have an iPad, so um, I have the advantage of working with a better app. But again, it's just the way things are. If you notice here, actually what they did is they don't show the user interface for a tablet. They're showing you a user interface for a phone. And the reason is because phones are probably faster and more powerful and more convenient because you always carry them with you. So I strongly recommend you, if you don't have a tablet, don't worry, give it a try with a cell phone, because what you get from the user interface, which is what you're looking at right now, is very, very clear, very, very powerful. You're gonna get the same experience, but in a different layout. It's gonna be vertical layout. Again, cell phones now are pretty big. It might be fine for you to navigate some drawings. I think that some people are just good at it. Some people are good at navigating in their phone. I personally don't do that. I like working with my iPad. But if you have a cell phone, you want to give it a try, please go ahead. It's going to be a really good experience. Same for Android, same for iPad. It's going to be the same. So I'm going to jump back to my iPad and finish some of the work that I was showing. So I'm broadcasting again from my iPad. This takes more time because again, I'm sharing directly from here. There you go. So now what happens here, if I go back to home, right? And again, I'm in a project. If you notice on top, it says ACC Masterclass Inf. That is the name of the project that I'm in. I could go back and download another project if I want to. Remember, you are not stuck in one project. Again, it's going to show you the recent files. And these are the tools where we want to focus the most. If you look at it at the bottom, after home, it says sheets, files, forms, specifications, issues, and more. And this is the full list. So all these tools that you see here now listed are pretty much tools for the module build. So the difference is that they are listed in a different way. You don't have access to the other modules. It is only for build. So you can go and check photos, you can go and check RFI, submittals, correspondence, which is letters across the project, schedule asset members, meetings, locations, and the sync status. I'm gonna go back to home, right? There's nothing else here. Then I go to sheets. And sheets is going to show me every single sheet that I have saved in the project. Again, this has been done in the desktop platform. You can't just do this in the mobile app. It's not the way it works. It's going to be, as I mentioned at the beginning of the session, prior to you working on the mobile app, there's going to be a certain amount of configuration you need to do. So someone in the project, a project admin probably, is going to take the files and send all the sheets here. Now, once the person does that, you're going to be able to see all the sheets for the project. And this is quite convenient because you can just go and click on one of them, right? I'm going to open that one, Cafe Kitchen. And then you see at the right side, I have all the annotation tools, all the markup tools. So I can take my stylus, change the color. I'm going to use, I'm going to use this red, it's fine, right? And I can start making changes to this drawing. I can easily take it and put an exclamation mark here, saying, okay, what is going on there? If I don't like the type of the stylus, right? I can change the thickness. And I can you are not looking at what I'm doing right now, but I'm using my stylus to draw lines on the drawing, creating a markup. Right? And again, this is just me reviewing a drawing. I can go back here, ask to eliminate this door. Or I can use text to add it if I want to. Right? Again, this is a different tool. This is not the mobile app itself. This is just me using the mobile app to make changes. You might hear the click of the stylus in the background. That's me pretty much deleting all this stuff, right? So what's going on here is very simple. I'm using my iPad to review this drawing as I go. If you can look at me right now, you're just gonna see me not looking at the screen, at my computer, anything. I'm just navigating with my iPad. And if I wanted to, I can create a revision cloud here, right? and I can add a markup if I want to. Again, this is related to the markups tool, but these tools are all available in your mobile app. If we had, again, if I wasn't broadcasting this, if it was just me working freely, it would be pretty good. It would be pretty fast. I've seen people working with a big iPad Pro. It's just beautiful how well this works. And you see, these are just markup tools. I could just collapse this and go back to the top where I can see at the top, I can see activities, right? I can see assets, right? I can compare sheets. I can take one sheet and another sheet and put them side by side, actually on top of each other, sorry. And you can compare them. If you see there are sheets that they don't match to each other, but just to show you the blue sheet and the red sheet are different. And what it's doing is comparing them on top to each other. I could do that maybe with something that is more relevant. So if I go back to sheets, I'm going to open SD101 and SD102 to compare them, right? And there you go. Now I can zoom in and see the overlap of two layers of two floors to see if there are any discrepancies. Maybe I don't want this toilet here, right? Maybe I don't want this toilet here in blue because I want it in the other side so I can have a more clear design of the piping system, etc., etc. I can see how the stairs are relating, how they reflect in the other floor, etc., etc. I'm doing all these that you're looking at. I'm doing all this from an iPad. I'm not using a computer to do this. Again, I can compare versions, but that's a little bit more of a different approach. I can save these views. If you see the arrow here, every time you see an arrow like that, right, it's about sharing. So you can take a screenshot, right? So let's say I want to share this issue with the toilet here, right? I'm not very happy with this toilet here. I'm gonna share it and it's gonna show me menus there, right? So I can take a snapshot, right? That's the snapshot that I want. That is the size of the screen when I'm working. And I can say open in, right? And I can share it. That's the image that I want. I didn't have to click on anything. That's the image that I want. And I say done and I'll share it, etc. Or I can send it by email, which is something I don't really agree with the idea of sending by email because I think that the information should remain in the project, but sometimes you might want to send this to an external party that is not in the project. So if you're on site conducting an inspection and there is something that doesn't match the drawings, right? You can take a screenshot of the drawings and take a photo of the site and send it to external party. Or if you need to send only the drawings to external party who is not in the project, you can do that too. You can send that to them by taking a screenshot here. So I'm going to leave sheets. Again, this is a very powerful tool for revision. If you have a stylus, it's just beautiful the way it works. It shows every sheet that there is in the project. There is a search bar on top where you can type where you're looking for. So I'm going to look for the word kitchen. There it is, cafe kitchen, right? I'm going to look for the word office. Let's see if there is any offices here. There is no office. But if you see, that is the number or title of the sheet. If I go to content on the right side, now it's evaluating the content of the sheets and it's showing me matches within the sheets that are matches for the word office. So I'm going to open one of them, the 4-floor plan, right? And then if I zoom in, you see how the word office is inside the drawing. So what I'm looking at is content within the drawings that match my search criteria. I can look into this drawing again. And let's say I'm looking for a word, a difficult word. Let's say I'm looking for, okay, I'm looking for a piece of equipment. Let's say I'm looking for a washer. And there are all the pieces of equipment is a washer dryer, which is the the piece that is going into every one of the toilets. So I can use this to navigate my drawings in an easier way. Of course, it's not going to identify the objects. It's going to identify whatever has been labeled. So for this, it's very important that we understand how the production of the drawings has been done, because we need to navigate this information later on. Okay, so this is a great tool. I think the fact that you can just navigate easily through all the sheets, through all the drawings, it is just wonderful. Oh, I think I came out of the meeting. Let me go back and share again. So we're staying only in the sheets part. I'm going to jump to another tool. I know we don't have a lot of time. I'm going to jump to another tool right now. So I'm going to go back to home again. And now it's showing me, if you look at it, recently viewed sheets, it's showing me the sheets that I should look at recently. So if you have a long day of work and you're relying mostly on your iPad, your mobile device, you just have to open it again. It's going to show you where you left, right? So it's going to show you wherever you left, where you left the work, something you haven't finished, you can go back and click on it. You don't need to navigate and look for the sheet again. Now, you notice after sheet we have files, which already we look at it, right? You can see all the folders structure, but I'm going to go back to home. You see the third tool is forms, but forms is also here at the bottom after recently viewed as a recently viewed sheets, and you can click on it and create a form. Now, for those who are not familiar with forms, forms is exactly a recreation of what the piece of paper form is used on site to collect data. Here are just digital forms. So I can create a form with this template. Again, I'm not going to talk about the creation of forms and templates. Maybe we can do that in a different session. But here is taking into consideration a form that has been created, a template that has been created already. So if you see all this content that is here, is for me ready to just add the information. So let's say I'm on the site, right? So it's showing me the date of the report, the ID of the report, the status of the report. I can select a location if I want to. I can add a description. I'm going to put test demo for webinar, right? There you go. I can assign this to someone else in the project, and I can start answering all the questions. So I can click on it, just either my finger or using a stylus, right? I can add data. Again, this is data that I should be collecting on the site, right? I can add equipment, and at the end, I can add a signature. Now, this is part of the configuration of a form. So we are not seeing how to configure, we're not looking at how to configure a form right now. I'm just walking you through a form that has been configured already. Digital signatures are very, very important. Many of our clients actually request to have digital signatures. I think it's that transition between digital and analog that we're still going through. But the digital signature is going to help you recreate that effect of a piece of paper with a pencil where people sign on it. Now, again, if you're using a device with a stylus, it could be a Galaxy Tab that has the S Pen, or it could be an iPad with an Apple Pen. You can recreate the digital signature. All you need to do is, you can't see me, but all you need to do is to type here, and it's going to give you an empty space for you to recreate the signature, right? Signature. There you go, and you save it, and the signature remains there. So it's quite clever, it's quite practical, very, very convenient, very fast, right? And the most important thing about forms is that a lot of data is already collected here. The data is already set up there. The status is going to set up, is going to be set up. The ID number for the form is going to be set up. And another great tool of working with the mobile device is that you can capture photos directly. So in this case, I'm going to take a picture of my screen. So now you're looking at just my keyboard, right? So I'm gonna turn it off again so you can see it better. I'm gonna take it, that is my desktop, right? So I'm gonna take a photo of my screen. There you go. And then, of course, because I'm broadcasting, it's taking far more time. If you were using your phone, if you were using your iPad only, not broadcasting, you can take that photo and save it, take it directly into your, there you go. You can save that photo into your project and you can keep it there. So I'm going to leave this form. I can submit it. If you noticed before, sorry, before I submit it, I'm going to show you here. It's asking me, in this case, because of the configuration of the form, it's asking me to add information, but I could submit the form here, or I can navigate through the form by choosing the menu here on top. Okay, if I click on it, I can just jump directly for the comments, right? So these are the comments that are attached to the form. If I added a comment here, it's going to be displayed there, right? So again, we are not looking into forms right now. If you look at the same form in the desktop application, it's going to look very different. I believe that navigation of the forms through the mobile app is quite simple because it eliminates a lot of information. Now, if you go back to the forms tool here, you're going to see all my forms listed here. Some of them are smart PDFs like the one you see here, samples. Some of them are actual forms created in ACC, like this one, right? And it has the same features. Photo option, right? It has the files, assets, it's just everything you get in a form is going to be there. You can navigate to the comments. Again, these are all the forms. I can look at the forms, right? I can look at the form, try to find a form by the number ID, the ID of the form, or the content of the form. Safety, it's going to be there. And again, it's going to be a way for me to filter the information that I have. And forms can be very heavy in terms of the number of forms in the project, the amount of data in the project from the forms is going to be all sometimes difficult to navigate. You can always use the search bar, which is a tool that is much more simplified than what you get in the desktop app. It's such a long, if you see it here, all this very long search bar is going to help you a lot. You can use the filters too, right? It's same as what you see in the desktop application to navigate through status. Is the form in progress? Is the form in review? Is the form closed? You can navigate through the type of form, right? If you have already classified them based on the type of form, the location, who is being assigned to, right? Is this form being assigned to all the architects? It's going to show me who and which forms are. Who created the forms? I'm going to choose the forms created by me, right? And it's going to shortlist the number of forms that are created by me. I'm going to clear all the filters here. Am I looking for a form within a period of time? So I'm going to choose the form for the past 7 days. There are no forms for that time. Again, it's the same filter you're going to get in the desktop app, but far more simplified here, right? Or by the due date. And again, the forms is probably one of the features that gets more benefits from the mobile app, because even if you're using a smart PDF like this one, and for those who are not familiar with forms, we're going to have forms created natively in ACC, which is similar to what we saw a moment ago, and forms that are created as PDFs, smart PDFs that were created in Word or Excel. This one is a form that was created in Excel. This is what we call a smart PDF. So I can zoom in, right? And I can start typing, right? And I can just start adding all the information that I want. And if you don't see it, but what I'm doing here right now is I'm just touching the box with my stylus. I can use my fingers too, and it's given the click. So this is another way to create a form based on a PDF that you can navigate through, and you can sign and everything at the bottom. There you go. That's the signature. It has the comments if I want to. There you go. And then I can save this form. And now the form has been saved, even though it's not finished. That's one of the disadvantages with a smart PDF, that is not going to demand to be completed, to be submitted. I can still submit it. And there you go. So now I have a current form that has been submitted today. Again, my forms are going to be there. Just if you look at it, if you compare what you're looking at here right now to the way they look in the desktop app, it's going to be pretty much the same. The last topic I want to touch before we jump in, we're not going to go into specifications, but I want to go into issues. Again, issues is going to be very, very powerful in the mobile app. You can just right away create an issue. It's right there, the first tool in color, create an issue. Let's say I have a issue with building code, and then I can start adding the description. There you go. Building code. I can assign the issue to someone. I can have watchers for the issue. If you're not familiar with the issue, tool, it has pretty much you're creating a report for a situation that needs to be taken care of, that has to be treated, and you are asking people to look at it and solve it. So you can have people who are watching over the issue, they don't interfere, but they're keeping track of things so they happen. I can give it a due date. I want to say um, May the 4th, right? Right. And then my issue has been created. I can modify that issue if I want to. I can export that issue. It is very, very convenient when you create an issue here, because all the tools that you need to make this issue valuable, to make this issue clear in terms of information, are all the tools are going to be here. You can add photos, right? You can use the camera to take photos for that issue. And you can say, okay, I want to take a photo. Again, it's not the best case because the photos are very blurry, but if you're using your phone, probably it's going to be a lot better than using an iPad. And you can add photos to that issue and just add the photo to the issue. If you are on site, if you're taking a photo of something that is not well in the project, the construction issue, you can add all the photos that you need. You can associate this issue to another file within the project, navigating the files. Again, you can do it very easily, just like the way you do it in the desktop app, the desktop interface, sorry. You can add forms, which is another great advantage of the interaction between these tools. Bill has that wonderful feature that you can correlate issues, forms, RFIs, submittals all to each other. And through issues is where we can allocate this information from other sources into one specific place, which in this case is the issue. I'm going to add a file just for sake of it. I'm going to add this RBT as a reference, right? And again, this is my issue. And if you notice, I can, if I don't want the issue to happen, I can just delete it and that's it, right? So it's going to ask you, this is something important because in principle, we shouldn't be deleting issues. One of the issues created should be solved. So it's telling you're about to delete one issue. Once it's deleted, the issue won't be accessible for the future features, blah, blah, blah. It's just because of the reference of the feature. I'm going to delete it without a comment. There you go. But in this case, what I want to do also is navigate these issues. One reason why I can also see a lot of the tools, like in this case, deleting the issue, it's going to tell me the same message, right? It won't be accessible from the product features that reference it. It's something we don't want to happen. The reason why I can do this is because I'm a project admin. I have more power in the project, let's say, than a project member. If you notice here on the left side, actually the issues are categorized. The open issues here are first, then you're going to see the issues that are in review, right? And then the issues that have been closed, which is the process we want to follow. We don't want to be deleting issues. We want to have the issues here. And again, the search bar is going to be there. Safety, no. Let's see, clash. There you go. I can find a clash issue. I can look for the number. Same, right? So this is a way to find information. And lastly, the filter. The status of the field of the issue, the type of issue, category, who is assigned to, what is the location, all the information that you have in an issue, or the user ID, which is probably the best way because it's going to put them chronologically. Remember that issues are created chronologically, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This might be a better way to navigate them. There is quite a lot that we can go through in the mobile app. It really depends on your knowledge of the platform. It really depends on the tools that you have, because it does make a difference to have a better device, to have a stylus, to have a better iPad, etc., etc. I strongly recommend you to navigate the mobile app, to install it in your phone, to play with it a little bit. If you are doing reviews of drawings, and if you have the access to an iPad Pro with a stylus or a good Samsung tab with an S Pen, go ahead. It is a great tool to work with. I strongly recommend you to use it, and yeah, give it a try. Give it a try as your main tool for work using Autodesk Construction Cloud. That's all for today. Thank you everyone who joined us. Thank you everyone who is attending this through a recorded session. You're watching the recorded session. Thank you too. Hope you learned something today. Thank you very much, everyone.